Hello and welcome to a video where we're going to be covering what I've been playing recently. And for the past couple days, really, I think ever since the CCQ winning list from Barcelona, which is what's on my screen right now, this is the list that won the Barcelona CCQ. I've been just sort of very interested in dogs, especially as well. I watched the gentleman's run, like seems really awesome German player. I know a few of my friends who know him say he's a great guy as well. So congrats on the run, congrats on the win. Um, but yeah, looking through this list and like basically watching him play and watching his run, and like he had some fairly awkward matchups. He managed to only see one Amethyst Steel though, but that was in the finals. So I feel like you can say that not seeing Amethyst Steel all day, but then your most important game of the entire run being the Amethyst Steel, which is generally one of your rougher matchups, and navigating it to a win is very impressive. So definitely got to respect the list to take this. I know as well he got a lot of maybe some guidance and advice from Diego, the level 9001, I think is what they go by, who was top seed in Milwaukee with a Chromodogs deck. I think got top four in the end or so. Just been championing the deck for a while, and it's kind of like his baby, and he does guides in it as well. I even got his guide off Smurfy, which I think is very worth checking out. I should link it in the description. Just to get some more tips on it. It is still a set 9 guide, but it was a lot of help. Just like getting, I find I'm always been a steel player. It's very easy for steel players to know what to mulligan for, even if they jump from amber steel to purple steel to blue steel. It's like kind of very prescribed the cards you want to see, but jumping to two colors that don't have steel in, or even red, it doesn't have any real like hard removal colors, was very interesting for me. And I've played a lot of dogs. Dogs is always that like deck that I have a lot of admiration for. I think it's really cool. It's an aggro deck with loads of different tools in it as well. So it's like a very smart aggro deck. It's not an Amber Steel aggro deck, in my opinion. No offense to Amber Steel, of course, I love that deck and I play it, and I still think that's a very strong choice. I think decks that are straightforward are never bad choices as well. You know exactly what you need to do. Makes it very easy to mulligan blind, which is important in Lorcana. But with this deck has so many incredible lines, and it's so fun. Every game feels kind of fresh. The reason why I wanted to play it was to hopefully do some videos on dogs, because I think it's a really cool deck, but also to I've just played a lot of Amethyst Steel recently because that's been the steel deck choice for me to go to. It's like kind of an aggressive all-rounder deck, but every game is mulligan for just a 1-2-3 curve, and I was kind of just a bit done with that. I was like, I can't. Okay, if I take this to a CCQ, I know what to expect. I know what to mulligan for. I know kind of how to play the game with the deck. I want to play something that every hand feels very different, and you can find that of dogs. There's some key components that you need in the hand, and I'll cover this list, and I'll cover the changes as well that I ended up sort of making, because I think this list is very solid. I think you can pick it up. I think it's a good starting point as well. I think we need to change because as it won an event, we need to change as well with the lists, to kind of keep up, because people are going to want to beat this. And I think my opinion on dogs right now is that I think it is a very good choice to bring to a CCQ or a bigger event, but I don't think it's necessarily the right choice as well, which just feels like I'm being pedantic and a bit silly with my wording there. But yeah, it feels like it's the obvious choice. It just won an event, but then it has some issues with this of Chromacon. If you were to put in some Bengers or something like that, or just some item break, even the Clarabelles, it needs a fairly good run to actually win an event. If you look at it, he managed to dodge quite a lot of the steel, and he was actually playing into a lot of Blurple earlier on in the event, which was which was quite impressive to see the Blurple still around. But I think people are still picking a few comfort picks as well. So yeah, the changes I sort of make with the list, I of course put the 4-drop Webby in there, maybe taking out the Prince Phillips to make room for that. I don't think you need to run all 4. You could maybe run 2 or 3 to put them in there. And the Merryweather, I feel like that card can be a bit left behind in set 9, in my opinion, because this 1-drop Webby is just so good. What you kind of wanted to do with the Merryweather is be able to buff up the lady, but paying a Webby and picking the lady, you get that +2 strength to it, because you play the Webby and then use Webby's effect to buff it, and it becomes a 2 strength already, and it requires you playing one more character. So if you want that quest for 3 on turn 1, or to finish off the game, it's just really impactful. Whereas lady, you're paying them 1 extra ink, but you don't actually progress a body on the board, which getting lots of bodies and little bodies on the board is very important for for dogs just in general, because then it can utilize the 7 cost tramp, and each body represents how much cheaper the 7 cost tramp is going to be, and it also represents how many cards you're going to be able to draw and discard. And basically, the way the whole thing works, I think in the simplest terms, I say the deck is fairly complex and every game feels different, but in the simplest terms is we build up a big board, we go very wide, we use the 7 cost tramp to discard a bunch of stuff and fuel our discard by putting stuff in there. And then what that will do is we've got cards like Lilo that we can recycle. We can use the 5 cost tramp to kind of grab those cards back and utilize any of them. A 5 cost lady, sorry, not tramp. So what you want to do is you get the 7 cost, dump it all in there, and then utilize the 5 cost to be like, hey, I discarded a 2 cost tramp, or I discarded an Ursula or a Go-Go, and I need those cards right now, so I'm going to use them to get it back. It's just all round loads of good fun. And like I say, I think it is a fairly good choice because it's the obvious choice. It just won an event, but I still think it requires to have a fairly good run. I'm not seeing as much Amethyst Steel. Amethyst Steel is one of the most popular decks right now, which still it does even though we saw it win in the finals, I still think it is an unfavored matchup. I don't think it's a drastic landslide to be like 50% dogs is no 50 60%, sorry, that purple still beats dogs, but it doesn't feel that good. And as well, people are going to go for mad techs on how to beat this because I think most people feel confident and they're like, oh, it's a Chromacon deck. I mulligan for Chromacon and I mulligan for 3 characters and I play that curve out. 1 character, two characters, and then a Chromacon, and I can beat it. And a lot of people will pick it up for that, and I don't blame them. You can have games where it does that, and it's just mind-numbing that the Chromacon puts so much pressure on the board. But people will go, all right, maybe the next CCQ that I'm going to, maybe if I'm going to Wakefield, I'd want to build something that could beat this. And I don't know if anyone else has noticed in testing, it's like all mentioned over Twitter and all the different groups that people talk in Lorcana, but Ruby Amethyst generally is very good into Lady and the Tramp, and the main reason for that is the 5 cost Headless Horseman card is very good value. You play it down and you basically get to pick anything to be banished, because I think besides the 5 cost lady and if you were still running the Prince Philip in this build, everything is pretty much a target, especially that 7 cost tramp. So they can play that down and just annihilate your board and set you back so far. And if you choose to bounce the horseman back to their hand, they're just going to replay it and do the same thing. Basically an on-play banish something every turn, and then when they get to about 7 ink or so, they'll play it. Then they'll also play like a 2-drop Diablo that quests for 2. And the reason why it feels worse with Ruby Amethyst than it does with, say, Purple Steel. Purple Steel is a bad matchup, but I think it's a bit better than Ruby Amethyst is mainly due to the fact that they only really have the 5 cost Elsa, which is exert hit. If you play a Daisy, you can't actually remove it with the 5 cost Elsa, but you can with the Headless Horseman. And then they can turn the corner a lot better with that Diablo card, where it's like, and I'm going to double if you at 9 ink, you play Headless Horseman double Diablo, and you're presenting 6 lore already, and you banish the thing. Like, it's just pretty rough matchup. So I feel like that could be a strong pick. But I feel like if you're really excited to play dogs, definitely do play it. I'm learning quite a lot from just putting the time in with the deck. I think it can start with its very simplest lines of, as I say, that 1, 2, 3, play a Chromacon and then just go wide and get them in like a bounce loop. But on top of that, what you're really aiming to do is get this 7 cost tramp out to unlock the deck, and play a 1-drop on 1, play 2 drops, and then try and play either 2 and a 1, or keep at that 2 ink to get to 5 characters across, and then play the 7 cost tramp. Always do the maths of if I have 5 characters, the 7 cost tramp is only going to cost me 2, and then I can discard a bunch of stuff. And then depending on what I want to see, do I need Under the Sea? Is it a mirror? Is it an aggressive deck like Amber Sapphire Princesses or Amber Steel, or is it a deck where I need to find the Chromacon? That deck, that 7 cost tramp just unlocks that for you and lets you find all those cards. And then the lady as well, shifting her in to retrieve anything that you've discarded that you need is very good. So altogether, I think that Chromadogs, or dogs in general, I think this list has a lot more resilience than the Circle of Life builds. I think they have got all the issues that the green-blue, what's it called, green-blue Prince Philip lists have, where it's it works together, but it's like combo-y pieces, and this rarely does brick. You'll sometimes have games where you have double Under the Sea in hand, but you know, with Bobby and Seven Goss Champ giving you draw discard, you tend to be able to get yourself out of those plays. So yeah, I think this is a deck that you definitely want to put all of the work in. I'd rather do a sort of profile here, and that's what I was trying to aim to do, and mention to go see Diego out on Metafy or any of the places he plays. I don't really know if he has YouTube or not, but he's on a team called Slab Sharks, which is a cool name. He's definitely the master for this deck, and like can help you pilot it if you ever really want to a very good level. So I just wanted to really mention his name and shout him out for it, because he's been helping me and answering any of my questions. But I think the deck is really good fun. I think I prefer this to the Circle of Life builds. It doesn't really, it's surprisingly how little it bricks, mainly because it's a lot of one drops, so you're always going to have a bunch of stuff to play very early on. You can play the deck at like 2 or 3 ink as well. It's just really amazing around. But I think my opinion is like, it's a very obvious pick to bring to the next CCQ, but also it's an obvious pick, and it does have holes in it. With Emerald Chromacon is a bit of a rough choice, because it can be countered with Benjas and Clarabelles, and I found out there's a green Fred that's basically the stat line of Benja that can also break it as well. I learned that at Store Champs once. So there's loads of different things, but altogether the card quality is just so good. It's such an aggressive deck. It's so quick at questing. It feels like if you queue into anyone, or if you match into anyone who's on Sapphire, you're just way heavily favored, and then your Amethyst Steel matchup is still like, this is fairly rough. And then there's a few fringe pick decks like Ruby Amethyst, and I guess Ruby, it's basically the utilization of that 5-cost Headless Horseman. So Ruby Steel as well, I could put that in there. It's just fairly rough for the deck, but besides that, you know, if you're expecting to see Sapphire all day, it's a really strong pick. And I just, yeah, I've been enjoying it, playing it lots. This is kind of the deck I've been playing for a bit, whilst I give Amethyst Steel a break, because the mulligan for that deck is very boring, and the deck I think in general is very boring. It may be very good, but it's very boring, whereas Dogs is very fun and energetic.